Hello there and welcome to Crochet with Carol. In this video I'm going to show you how to create some fingerless gloves using a shell pattern.
So I'm going to start with a chain of 15. So I'm going to take my yarn over my finger to start my slip stitch, put the hook through the loop and pull a loop up. And just pull that closed. So that's not counted as one of your chains. So I'm going to chain 15. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 and 15. So we're using double crochet stitch for this rib, which means we only need to skip the first loop and we're going to the second loop, second chain. So insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through. Insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through. And we'll continue all the way along and we'll have 14 double crochets. Don't worry about it curling up at the end. That's just what happens, isn't it, when you first start your project. Excuse me, dog hairs. They get everywhere. Insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through. We'll carry on all the way to the end. Until I get to the final stitch. So before I go into that final stitch, I'm going to count them just to make sure I've got the right number. So this is my first one. Sometimes it doesn't look as if you've done a complete stitch, but that's the first one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and this is our last stitch. Insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through, and that's 14. Now I'm going to put a stitch marker in this very first one because it sometimes can be difficult to see when we come round. And I've got another stitch marker ready to turn. So the turn and chain for a double crochet is to chain 1, turn your work. But for the rib, we're going to work into the back loop only. So we're going to do double crochet as normal, but instead of going into the full loop where your V is, we're going to go into the back loop only. And the back loop just means it's the one furthest away from you. Some projects will say go into the front loop, and that's the one nearest to you. For this one, we're going to go into the back loop. So insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through. To make sure I'm on track with the right stitches, I'm going to use a stitch marker, and it's going to go into that very first double crochet that we've just done. So I know that that's the end of that row when I come back to it. So I'm going to turn the work a little bit towards me again so I can see the V's along the top. I'm going to insert the hook, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through. And we'll continue all the way along in exactly the same way. I'm going to continue until we have, in my example, 28 rows. Now you might want to make a note of your rows as you go along. I sometimes write them on a bit of paper. I'll just check them off as I do each row. You can count the rows just by looking at your piece of work. It's not always as easy to identify your rows, but with the back loop only, it does make it stand out quite easily. So it can make it quite easy to count. Now when we get to the very last loop, I put the stitch marker in because, as I say, it's sometimes not that easy to see. But because I've got the stitch marker in, that very last one, I'm going in the back loop of it, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through. I'll take my stitch marker out ready for the turn. And you can see the effect you get when I turn it slightly. You've got that little raised bit. So I'm going to chain one for the turn my work, and again just tip it slightly towards you. So that's the normal view, but if we tip it slightly towards us so we can see the top of the V, insert it into the first stitch. Now be careful again with this, you've got the stitch that's on your loop, on your hook, I beg your pardon, and then you've got another V, which was when we finished our previous row, but the actual stitch is the second one along. So you don't go into the first one, you go into the second one along. Insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through. And we'll continue in exactly the same way all the way to the end. You can see the effect we're starting to get with this raised edge. So I'm just going to continue in the same way all the way along, and I'll meet you at the end. So when we get to the end, I've got my 2 stitches left, so I'll go into the second from the end, and then my last one, the one with the stitch marker in, go into the back loop, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through, and then I'll take my stitch marker out. And there you see the way the pattern's starting to take effect. So here we are at the penultimate row of our rib for the wrist, and I'm just going to finish this off with, got 2 stitches, 2 double crochets at the end, chain 1 to turn, and this is the final row. Now when you count your rows, the easiest way, especially when it's a rib like this, it is quite easy to count, because if you think about the tail end here, which is your chain, so that was the chain 15 that I did. The next bit is the first row of our rib. The next one, the raised one, is row 2. So it's quite easy to just go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26. Then I've got 27 that I'm on at the minute, and I want to turn and do my final row, which is 28. So into the back loop only. Now remember, when you do this, I've got 28 stitches because that's the measurement for my wrist. You'll need to decide what your measurement needs to be. When you do measure this, allow a little bit of room for the fabric to sweat, for the wool to stretch, because it will give quite a bit. So an easy way to try it out is to just literally take it around your own wrist and make sure there's enough for it to stretch slightly. Also thinking about your own tension. If you're using a tape measure to measure it, again make sure that you leave that little bit extra for it to stretch. So we'll get to the end, and because of the pattern that we've got here, there's not really a right side or a wrong side. Don't forget your very last stitch. So we can use either side as the right side. So I'm going to do 1 chain at the end, and then I'm going to bring the other end in to meet, and I'm going to just do slip stitches all the way along to join. So I'm going to go into the very last chain, insert my hook, pick up the loop and pull it through, but bring it all the way through that chain as well. Now because I've gone in with my first chain, I'm going to go into the same space again, because I haven't actually stitched in or crocheted in the very first one or last one on my chain. I'm also going to do this in the front loop only, so instead of the back loop that we've been doing, I'm going to do the front loop only, because this side is going to become the inside, and if I do the front loop only, it'll leave a little ridge on the what will become the front of the work. Pull the yarn through and pull it through again, so you're coming through all three. So the front loop and then the chain at the back, pull it through all three. The front loop and then the chain and pull it through all three. I'm doing a slip stitch. There would be no problem with doing just a double crochet because it's going to be hidden, it's going to be on the inside. This just makes it slightly flatter by doing the slip stitch. So front loop, remember, for this very last one, and pull it through, and the numbers of stitches, because it's just one long piece all in the same length, you should have 14 chains and 14 double crochets to go through. So I'm getting to the end now. I've got 2 left, front loop only, the chain at the back, and then the final one, front loop and the final chain at the back, and pull that through. There we go. So that's the cuff completed. If I turn it the right way around, you can see, although you can see a join, because we've got that slight raised bit, it helps to blend it in a little bit more. There you go. So here we are with the cuff finished. We've joined the edges together, and now, having turned it on its side, we're going to work around one side, one edge, to form the rest of our mitt. I'm going to chain 1, and then for each of these ridges, so we've got a prominent one on this side and then one that's sunken in slightly, we're going to go into each of those with 1 double crochet, and because there's 28 rows, that will give us 28 double crochets. So I'm going to go in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and then I've got the last 8, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28. and then this is where the join is. We're going to go straight into the top of our very first double crochet and do a slip stitch to join the first row.
Now to start the shell pattern, I actually need 32 stitches, so I did an extra row and I increased the row by 4 stitches, so I ended up doing 2 double crochets in the one stitch 4 times evenly around the outside.
So to start the shell pattern, I have chained 1 and I'm going to do 1 double crochet. So that's my starting point. I want to put stitch marker in, and the next stitch is to make 5 treble crochets by missing 2 stitches and going into the third one. So that's 1, 2, I'm going to go into the third one, insert the hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through, yarn over and pull through. So that's my first treble, and I want to do 5 of those. That's 2, 3, 4 and 5. And then we miss the next 2 stitches and we go into the third stitch with a double crochet. So that's, sorry, I'm going ahead of myself. Insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through. And then we miss another 2 stitches and we do 5 trebles in the third stitch. Insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. And we do that 5 times. And you continue in exactly the same way all the way around. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Skip 2 stitches and double crochet into the next stitch. Skip 2 stitches and 5 trebles into the next. 3, 4, 5. Skip 2 stitches, double crochet, skip 2 stitches and 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Skip 2 stitches, double crochet, skip 2 stitches and we make 5 trebles. Skip 2 stitches, double crochet, and we're just about at the end. Now for this pattern I'm not going to slip stitch to join after I've done my final set of double crochet trebles, beg your pardon. We're going to continue in the round without a gap. So we're going to make 5 trebles, skip 2 stitches, and then where we've got our stitch marker, we're we're going to put our final 5 trebles into the top of this double crochet here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, oops, and 5. I'm just going to go around and show you how many trebles we've got, how many shells we've got. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's the first row. And now we're going to start the second row. Now it's a little bit odd because you're sort of in between the first and second row. But I'm going to put a stitch marker in that final double crochet from the previous row, because we're going to treat that as the end of our row, and we're going to carry on in what is now going to become our second row. So we've started with 5 trebles. We're going to skip 2 stitches, 1 and 2, and we're going to do a double crochet in the 3rd stitch. What you've actually got is a double crochet in the middle of the shell on the previous row. So you skip 1 and 2 and you go into number 3 and create a double crochet, and then we skip 2 stitches again, and we're going to do 5 trebles in the top of the previous row's double crochet. So we do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And this is the pattern for the rest of the mitt, the glove. So we skip 2 stitches. Now make sure you check that you've counted your stitches correctly, because it sometimes overlaps a little bit here, so don't miss this one out. 1, 2, 3, we'll do 1 double crochet, miss 1, 2, and in the 3rd one we'll do 5 trebles. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Skip 2 stitches, 1 double crochet, skip 2 stitches, and we'll do 5 trebles. Oops. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Skip 2 stitches and 1 double crochet, skip 2, and we'll do 5 trebles. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and go into the 3rd and do our double crochet, and we're back to the joining point of our second row. So this is where we'll end our second row. We're going to end that with 5 double crochets where the stitch marker is. Now I'm going to take the stitch marker out and I'm going to move it to this double crochet here, so that I know that that's the end of the previous row. And skipping 2 stitches, double crochet, treble 5 times, beg your pardon. 2, 3, 4 and 5, and this is going to be row 3, and we'll continue in this way until we get to the point where we want to create this thumb hole. And when you count your rows, you sort of count them on an angle like this. So we've got row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I just turn it slightly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we're going to put the thumb hole in. So I'll come back to you when you've completed row 6. So we're back at the end of row 6, and I'll just show you how I count them again. So from the shell stitch that I've just finished, and I've done 1 double crochet, I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I look to the next shell stitch, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is my last one to make row 6. So I'll take out my stitch marker and I'll do my final shell stitch of row 6. So that's 5 trebles. I've got a very squeaky hook today for some reason. And that's 4, and that's 5. Oops. I'll have to give that a little. So in the next shell, I'm going to do miss 2, 1 double crochet, and we're now going to do the thumb hole. Now in the thumb hole, instead of doing a shell of 5 trebles, I'm going to do 7 trebles, and this will just give our thumb hole a little bit more room. So you can see here, this is actually made of 7 instead of 5. So we'll go into the third chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So that's going to be the thumb hole. So I'll just put my stitch marker in. It's quite easy to see where I am, but I'll put the stitch marker in anyway. And I'm going to continue around the rest of the glove in the same pattern, but this time with just the 5 trebles. So we do a double crochet in the third stitch, and then 5 trebles, if you don't know already, you can speed this video up. If you go to there's a little cog symbol on your YouTube that allows you to change the speed. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, miss 2 and a double crochet, miss 2 and then our treble. But this is the bit that you need to watch carefully, because it can get a little bit fiddly. This next bit where we're going to make the thumb hole. That's 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, miss 2 and a double crochet, one more yarn, miss 2 and 5 trebles, 3, 4, 5, and then we miss 2, 1 double, and then another 5, and that should bring us up to the thumb hole space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is where the 7 trebles were created. So in this final treble, I'm going to do a normal double crochet, and then in the double crochet just before that final treble, we're going to do another treble, so miss 2, and we'll do 5 trebles. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now what we'll do here is we miss this treble where we've got our 7 trebles, miss that out altogether. So instead of going into the 3rd chain with a double crochet, we go into the very next treble along with a double crochet, leaving the treble made of 5 trebles. But the other thing I want you to do is to just chain 1, just to give us that little bit extra room for the thumb hole space. So we've got the treble, the double crochet that separates them, and then in the 3rd chain of the next treble, and that's where you want to go in, the 3rd stitch, I beg your pardon, and do our double crochet. And you can see what's happened. We've made a little gap there for the thumb hole, so that becomes the finger, thumb. And then all you do from here is continue in the same way all the way around, as many rows as you prefer to get the length that you want. So the next stitch will be a treble 5 times, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, miss 2 and a double crochet, and continue round. When you get to the thumb hole, you'll find it's no different, because you don't even notice that, you just continue. The only difference is you've got an extra chain here, and you just ignore the chain and treble into the double crochet that you did earlier. So I'll take you as far as there, and then I'll let you finish the length of your glove yourself, and I'll come back at the very end to show you how I put my final row in. I've got a 5 treble, 2, 3, 4, 5, miss 2 and a double, and then we'll miss 2 and a treble, One, 2, 3, 4, 5, miss 2 and a double, and then in the next space it's another treble, And then at the top of this shell we'll do a double crochet. We're at the thumb hole now, so normally you would make your next treble by missing 2 stitches, but the third one here you'll notice is a chain. We're going to miss the chain and we're going to go into the double. So skip that and do 5 trebles. It probably feels a little bit strange because of the thumb sticking out, so it gives it a funny shape. But once you've got your 5 trebles in this space, everything else just runs as normal. So there we go. So I've got my 5 trebles in there, and skip 2 and double crochet, and just continue in the same way until you get the length of the glove that you want. So try the other hand this time. There we go. You could finish off at that length if you wanted to. I've gone a little bit further with the ones that I've completed. So I've just taken them up to the fingers. And then can you see I've done a little border row right at the end? And all I've done there is a slip stitch into the front loop only. And that gives that little edge to it. So I'll show you that one. So once you get to the length that you want, I'm just going to do this at this point now, but you would just get to your final length, and if you go into the front loop, so front loop or back loop, we're going into the front loop, yarn over, pull through and pull through again. So that's a slip stitch. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull through and pull through again. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull through one, pull through the other one. And you'll see that that gives that little edge, because you're going into the front loop only, it's forcing the stitch to appear on the outside of your work, on the, it's rather than the inside. If we did a back loop only, it would be more of the V shape on the inside of your work. But because we're doing the front loop, it means you get that nice little pattern on the outside. You don't even have to do that. You can leave the work just as it is. There's no need to put a border on the edge. That's fine as it is. That was just my preference. Okay, well, good luck. I hope you enjoyed.